Hello and welcome to day 4 of the Formula E Berlin e-Prix event. Now, I went and found some electronic music. Makes sense because these are electronic vehicles. This starts to get much more realistic. If you recall, in those first few days I was mentioning how the amount of charge we had was very high in the races. Now, you could be kind of shocked to see how little of a charge we have starting a race like this that's going to be 3 laps long and we're starting from a dead stop. Gabriel mentioned that it's good to refer to it as charge or energy rather than calling it power, and that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to try to refer to that more so going forward. So we don't have a lot of charge. We're starting in the lead, which is that's pretty nice. So this really shouldn't be that hard. Now, I was having trouble on that corner, and I forgot that I was just doing some OMP racing in an Aston Martin. And for some reason, in a couple of Aston Martins, I find it easier to lower my sensitivity to 1, and I can just corner better that way. I was really having the car step out on me, and dropping the sensitivity by just 1 made me feel a little more at home. However, here, that made me oversteer and bite the wall a little bit. Don't want to do that. Okay, so the charge is already in the red, and that is kind of intimidating. But, let's just feel this out. I want to blast through this pretty good. I'm still really wanting to get a really nice feel for this track. We start this race with a charge of 6%, and here I'm down to 4% at the line. So that means I've already used up 1/3 of my battery. I have 2/3 left. You should actually be fine pushing this pretty hard. The issue is, were you hitting the walls? Were you skidding? If you were skidding and wasting momentum, then you might have to make up some of that by coasting a bit to recharge your battery a bit. So those are the things that could make this difficult. I wouldn't recommend, full throttle the whole way, pedal to the metal, because you could run out of charge by the end. But look where we're at now. I'd like to be at about 2% charge when I'm crossing the line, or 2% even battery level, and that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I'm not really taking it very easy here. Let's see. It's still not a great corner, and I just nicked that wall. I'm trying to get a little more comfortable with these walls. I generally hate being really close to walls because I don't want to nick them, but you got to really optimize the track if you want to power out of corners. So you got to get a little more comfortable with the walls, which means you're going to nick them once in a while. A slight tap doesn't hurt you very much, but if you're hitting the wall at more of a sharper angle, man, it's just going to drain your momentum. Boy, I don't like getting down to 1% charge. But look how fast it refills there. Now, it's kind of interesting. The more tuning I add to this, and oh boy, I ate that curve nicely. I better brake later for that little turn. Yeah, look at that. I can drive the rest of this pretty hard, so it gives you a good feel for this car. Yep, no trouble at all. And I nicked it again. Very slight nick. That's really not going to hurt me. And there you go. That's enough. I can tell you from tests I did, if you ever run out of charge, you're done. You fail the stage, so don't do that. Pay attention to your charge and monitor the race as you're going along. Now, as per the other stages, they're not going to make us have more PR until the very last stage of this particular day. Or I should say, the last race of this day. So what are we looking at here? Same charge level, 6%, but I'm starting, I've got a partial lap to do. Okay, well that means we better pay a little bit more attention. Now this one, it's really not that difficult. It just says you've got to make sure that you don't have that much of a lead at the start of each lap. And I reeled him in a little bit, not too bad. I don't want this guy suddenly ending up on my tail. Yeah, I took that a little bit too cautiously. He's gaining pretty fast. You got to be careful there. These guys do some dirty passing too, which I'm sure you found out by now, that they do not mind throwing the bumper to you. Not that you have a bumper on a Formula E car, but throwing the nose to you. They're going to hit you out of the way if you're not careful. So you can drive it pretty hard and then do some coasting at the end of the lap to let him catch up. But we do have to monitor the battery here because, yeah, you know, we were starting with 6%, but starting deeper, more laps to run, more distance to run, not necessarily more laps, but more distance. So just monitor what you're doing. Ah, there we go. That's a better job on that corner, but I'm going to have to... Ooh, I should have been on the throttle a little bit earlier. Okay, well, let's just speed this up a little bit because this is a longer race. We're traveling here at 4 times regular speed. You can see that he was trying to overtake me, but I really powered through that corner nicely. There's some longer races today, and so we're not going to watch the full version of every single race because that's going to take quite a while. But at least this way you get to see if anything crazy happened. I'm a lot lower on my charge at this point of the race than I was in the last one. That's a lapped car. You can see I've got to reel him in a bit. I let him hit me. Still, not really any problem there. And I goofed up on that race one time. I was messing around driving backwards and I totally drained my battery and failed the stage, which is kind of embarrassing. So there you go. I'm starting this one without being fully serviced. See that? I'm in the red. And I thought, you know what? Let's give this a try. I don't think this is going to be hard. We're doing this whole race at 4 times regular speed, and let's just say it's not going to be that hard, and I blew the corner. That's because I have less grip. You've got to stay behind second place for 120 seconds. And these guys take some strange race lines. I disagree with their race lines. They are not optimal. So I've got to brake even earlier for some of these corners because the race lines aren't good. By the way, I'm noticing drafting kicks in right around 130 kilometers an hour. And if I don't look this up, let's see how close I can get. I'm going to say that 130 kilometers is right around 80 miles per hour, give or take a bit. Hopefully I'm not horribly wrong. Okay, this is going to take a while. 16 times regular speed. I'm already in the lead. I didn't speed it up until I was in the lead. And I get a very big lead. So there you go. We're zippity-doo-dahing through this pretty fast. And okay, well, I can level up my driver. And I'm certainly going to have to probably also get tuning in order to even enter the next race. I don't want to start the next race unserviced. So I'm going to have to watch a lot of ads. I don't want to bore you with that. So there we go. I'm fully serviced. I've upped my driver to level 3 and 3, 3, 3, and then 4 in the last category got me just enough to be able to enter this race. So I'm doing this with the bare minimum so we get a chance to see how difficult this is. Overtake 5 cars, but don't get overtaken. Okay, so that means you're going to have to pay more attention in this race. And I'm going to get in low here, do a nice little pass. Nicked that curb. Oh, another thing, you can't take damage, it says. So I got to do some blocking. I can't let him pass me or I will fail. And I kind of like that. I like how he was driving. I like the challenge. So what does it mean to get damaged in a race like this? Well, you can definitely hit the wall several times. I wouldn't hit him super hard. You can even get away with some minor contact with other cars, just not major contact. Now, you don't want to push that boundary too far, but you can get away with a fair amount. And, ooh, that was pretty close to the wall. I might be getting a little bit too comfortable, but, you know, a lot of us who play this game, there's some type of professional racing that we enjoy. And in a lot of that, you know, those guys they're pretty comfortable with the walls. And that's because you have to be if you're going to maximize the track. Like right there, that was really close to the curb, but it didn't slow me down. I didn't actually hit the curb. And that's a little bit wider than I would like, but hey, that's pretty decent. So this race looks kind of scary at a few points because there's no one around. Oh, that wasn't great. But I drove off okay. Because originally I thought, oh, I'll just let that guy pass me and I'll overtake him 5 times and the race will end. And no, you'll fail if you do that. And you still have to finish this race no matter what. So you might as well just drive it in. Now he's a lapped car, going to be pretty easy to overtake him. I'm getting more comfortable with braking early here into the gas early. And look at that, nice and close to the wall. And you get a nice run here. I really like how balanced this car is. As I increase tuning, I'm not really having to adjust my braking points, which I was a little bit concerned about. And just a little tap here and power around there. Oh, wasn't that sweet? right close to that curb again. Very close pass. Had some sparks flying off that guy. We're going to do the full race here, in case you haven't guessed. I sped through a lot of this, but I didn't want to speed through everything because some people actually want to see how am I improving, how am I adjusting as I'm doing this. So my one report is that as you add upgrades, if you add them across the board, the car stays nice and balanced. And I'm sorry, I'm still calling them upgrades sometimes. I know they're tuning, you know they're tuning, but boy, that's going to take a while to get that replaced. Some people are doing this a little bit different than I am, and they're doing one race a whole bunch of times, failing it, but then they're able to get more driver XP. And that's an interesting strategy. I think it's a good long-term strategy. However, you only get 0.3 increase in PR each time, and each tuning is worth 0.3 or 0.4. So I do agree that it's a good idea to increase your driver XP long term. You'll be able to finish the series that this car is in, and you'll also be nicely set up for update 8.6 when you can use the same driver to earn another car. But I'm doing this more like I think a lot of people might do it, and I'm purposely going to stick with my strategy, and that gives you guys the opportunity to compare different strategies and make a decision on what you want to do. Now, I've got to earn more M dollars today. If you're curious about other races you can do, if you've got F1 cars, you can actually earn it all in one race. And you might have seen this link before, but I'll throw that link up here. And yeah, it's an interesting technique of endurance racing. It's called endless endurance racing. I've got piles of videos on how to do it. Tomorrow I will wrap this up and show you my final costs. Thank you for joining me.